What is going on, chess YouTube? In today's video, Levon Aronian, the madman, he did it. He actually did it. He just invented a brand new chess opening at the 2025 Warsaw Rapid Blitz Tournament, which is being held right now. All right, in the game, Levon Aronian, our hero, 1d4 is the move, and his opponent, Maxime Vachiere-Lagrave, the Frenchman, he goes knight f6, c4, and then g6. The Frenchman must be the only person nowadays who plays the Grunfeld defense after knight to c3, and then, of course, d5. Now here, instead of knight c3, Levon Aronian plays maybe my favorite move in this position. That is the move 3f3, intending e4 with a huge space advantage. Now here, black has many different options in the game. Maxime, he goes c5, heading for a modern Bennerny style structure. We have d5, then d6, and now here, instead of e4 right away, white goes knight c3. Okay, so far so good. Still pretty standard stuff. Black goes e6, a typical move in the modern Bennerny. The point being, you want to trade on d5, and here, Levon Aronian plays his brand new chess opening that, to my understanding, this has never been played before in the history of the game, and I think this opening would make Magnus Carlsen himself blush, because Levon Aronian plays the Aronian Cloud move, king to f2. That's right, f3 was not designed to play e4 later in the game. f3 was designed to give the king a space on f2 to move up to. Why did Levon Aronian play king to f2? It's simple. He wants to transfer his king to g2, fianchettoing the king. Now, what should we call this brand new chess opening? Well, it's very similar to the Aronian Cloud opening, so how about the Aronian Cloud opening? That's what I'm going with, the Aronian Cloud. All right, in this brand new opening, black takes on d5, white takes back, black goes a6, intending b5, very standard stuff. White goes a4, clamping down on that b5 advance. And now black here, black still has to develop. He's got to go, say, bishop g7, castles, maybe rook e8, knight d7. So how will black get it done? In the game, Maxime, the Frenchman, knight d7, and then here, Levon, g3, sure enough, intending potentially king g2, fianchettoing his king. All right, now here, Maxime, he is not amused by this brand new chess opening, the Aronian Cloud. Here, instead of, say, bishop g7, a typical move, black goes h5, gaining space on the king side and starting the alpha 0 attack against the white king. The point being, if the king goes over, the pawn comes down and black's attack continues on the king side. Now, here, it turns out you can't ignore that threat and just go, say, king g2, but instead, Levon Aronian, I mean, it's his brand new chess opening. Who am I to criticize him? He does block the attack with the move h4, gaining space, h4, gaining space on the king side here. All right, now, Maxime, knight to e5, staying very active with that knight. We have king to g2, sure enough, completing the king's journey to the g2 square. And what do you know? You thought I was going to go for a fast e4. Nope, a fast king g2 instead. All right, black, bishop g7. We finally have e4. And now here, black probably should castle, but instead, Maxime, playing very tricky. He plays this move, knight to h7. All right, what is the idea behind this move? Well, typically in this variation, and I do play it as white in my own online games, so I would know, typically black plays this when he wants to go for a fast f5, but usually black's already castled when he tries that. So, very interesting idea here by the Frenchman. All right, we have knight to h3, a good square for the knight. White may want to go, for example, knight to f2, and from there, the knight does support the e4 and g4 squares, maybe supporting a future g4 advance if white wants to get aggressive on the king side. Now here, black, turns out black can play an equally cheeky idea. Bishop takes h3. The point being, after that, white's best move, shockingly, would be capturing with the king, and just a really weird position ensues in this brand new chess opening. But instead, short castles played in the Aronian Cloud opening. Now here, knight f2 is best, but instead Aronian feeling very aggressive, knight to f4, playing very aggressive in this game. Now black goes rook b8, intending potentially a fast b5. White clamps down on b5 forever with move a5. Now, of course, if black goes b5, white can recapture en passant, capturing on the diagonal with the French chess move against the the French chess opponent. And that is what happens. B5, and then en passant against the French Grandmaster Maxime Vachiere-Lagrave, we have rook takes, and then bishop e2. Levon finally completing his development. Maybe he wants to go, say, bishop e3, queen d2, and then play it from there. Now here, black has a wide variety of moves. For example, queen d7's fine, knight f6 fine, maybe f5 could be played, but instead here, black, he gives up the defense of this pawn. White has two pieces attacking that pawn right now, 1, 2, if my math skills are up to par today, and 1, 2 defending. You can tell I passed 5th grade math here, but here, Maxime, bishop d7, giving up the defense of this pawn. What is the idea? Here, Levon, he takes the bait, he takes on a6, but this, it turns out, is actually a mistake. And try to figure out why this might be a little bit of a mistake here and why this sort of walks into black's trap. Pause the video and try to solve that. All right, here, the key idea, after rook takes, bishop takes, black plays the move c4. Oh, that is so good right here. The point being the bishop, it's trapped on the a6 square. It can't go back as the knight controls c4. Now, yes, it can go to b5. White played that in the game, but here black can ignore the bishop, go knight to f6, for example, and just continue with the attack on the king side. Now, instead of that, here black takes, white takes back, and then black's idea is queen to a5, pressuring the knight, and potentially something like rook b8, applying pressure on these open files on the queen side. So not a bad idea, and overall, black does have pretty good compensation for the one missing pawn. All right, knight c3, we have rook b8, rook e1, knight f6, queen to a4, offering the queen trade, and here, Maxime, he says, wait a minute, I'm attacking. I need those queens on the board in this brand new chess opening, the Aronian Cloud. So he goes for the move queen to c7, by far the best move on the board. Now white goes queen to a3, applying a little bit of pressure to the pawn on d6. It is defended for now, but white's trying to keep the queen honest. If the queen moves too far away to say, I don't know, c8 or somewhere, the pawn might fall in the future. All right, knight fd7 played here. Then we have bishop to e3. And here, black plays a very strong move. Rook b3, flying down with the rook, simply pressuring the weak queen on the a3 square. Now we have queen to a8. The queen flies forward, gives the king on the g8 square a little check right there. We have king to h7, and then rook to e2, defending the pawn on the b2 square. Of course, the queen was defending before, but now with the queen on a8, this rook is needed to defend. But here, Maxime, he still has very good compensation for the one missing pawn, that being his fantastic knights, his bishop, which could come to life at any moment, his good rook, his good queen, and the little space advantage on the queen side here, potentially. All right, now we have rook to b8, pressuring the queen once again, queen to a7, and again here, Maxime, he keeps those queens on the board, queen to c8, showing why he is one of the top players in the world today, even when facing a brand new opening like the Aronian Cloud opening. All right, queen to a3. The queen drops back. Rook to a8. Pressures the queen on the a3 square. Queen to b4. Rook to a1. The rook flies in, and this may be the first mistake that Maxime's made in a little while. Instead, the computer says just chilling back, staying safe, would say king g8 or rook b8 was a little better. Now, rook a1 played in the game, and I don't know how Levon found this move. I mean, it is his new chess opening, and it is his home turf right here, the Aronian Cloud, but he finds a really brilliant strategic idea. So let's slow down and talk strategy a little bit. Here, white doesn't really have any good pawn breaks. The only pawn he can really move is perhaps g4, but that loses a pawn, perhaps b3, but that's no good either. So what can white actually do here? Well, the next best thing for white may be trying to find a way to improve the placement of his worst placed piece, but that begs the question, what's the worst placed piece here, and what should white be doing? Well, it turns out here, Levon Aronian, he decides to reroute this knight to the g5 square. He's actually trying to argue this knight here, despite being on a so-called good square, it just isn't doing anything. Everything is covered, and therefore knight to h3 is the move. Actually, a brilliant idea. Here's why. King g8, then knight g5, then knight jumps up, and here, white in the future, beyond pressuring f7, white can also go, for example, f4, f5, and suddenly white has a viable pawn break that he can actually use to attack in the game. So very, very clever idea here by Levon Aronian. All right. Bishop f8 played by Maxime Vachiere-Lagrave right here. Then we have the move. Oh, by the way, this was the reason, in case you were curious, why did white not take this pawn on d6 right here? Bishop f8 would effectively trap the queen, as the queen would have nowhere to go. All these squares are being covered. Literally everything would be covered by the black pieces. So in case you were wondering, don't blow up my comments. Don't shoot the messenger here. That pawn is poisoned. All right. Fast forwarding to this position. Bishop f8 defends the pawn on the d6 square. Now we have queen b5. The queen flies up and pressures some of these black pieces. Then we have rook to a8, retreating, and then here, knight to d1. Now, what is the idea behind this move here? Honestly, I don't know, as the knight doesn't really have any good squares from here. Maybe f2. I'm not really sure what this move was. Instead, if we're thinking logically, what could be better than that? Well, white could go, say, bishop d4, pressuring e5, or even the immediate f4. Both those look very logical to me, but instead, Levon Aronian, in his new opening, the Aronian Cloud, knight d1 played in the game. Now we have rook to b8, pressuring the queen, queen to a4, bishop to e7, pressuring the knight on the g5 square, knight to f2. The knight does reroute here, but again, what is this knight actually accomplishing on the square? Well, maybe it supports a future g4 break, intending perhaps g takes h5, maybe, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, knight c5, and here Levon, he goes off the deep end in this new opening. He goes bishop takes c5, giving up his bishop for that knight. Now, typically in these structures, with black having his bishop fianchettoed on g7, or at least it was. It's not right now, but you get what I'm saying. Typically, these dark square bishops are the most overpowered pieces on the board, especially for white. All his pawns here are on light squares on this diagonal, and therefore it makes this bishop a good bishop and very, very important. So here, white is giving it up for the knight. A very strange decision, but what is the idea behind it? Well, here, what he's trying to do is just push through with these pawns ASAP, and he figures this is the right way to do it. All right, queen takes f4, drives back that knight, knight to d3, then knight to f3, dropping back with the other knight. Then we have knight takes b2, white giving up the pawn. It is now even material, white having the extra e pawn, black the extra c pawn, and from here, it's effectively going to be an all-out dogfight with white pushing his pawns down the board ASAP, and black doing the exact same thing. Strategy is out the window at this point. It's now all about tactics, calculation, intuition, and whatever you can do to win the game. All right, from here, white, queen c6, offering the queen trade. Maybe instead queen d7 was the right idea. The queen would be a little more active on that square, but instead queen c6, and here, Maxime, having won the pawn on b2, having even material, here in the brand new opening, the Aronian Cloud, he does trade queens. Queen takes, d takes, and now it's an all-out slugfest in the endgame. c3, here we go, pushing the pawn down the board. Rook to c2, blocks the pawn, then knight to a4 defense. Rook a2 pressures the knights. How will black defend? Knight c5 is the move. Rook a3, again, pressuring the pawn. Rook c8, pressuring this pawn here, and we do have a trade of pawns. Rook takes, knight to d3, jumping up, pressuring the pin pieces. Now the rook on the c6 square is hanging, and if this knight moves, then you take the rook and you win the game on the spot. Of course, it didn't happen in the game. That is the idea, though. Here, rook to a6, the point being now this knight can take on the d3 square. It is not pinned anymore, but here Levon takes the knight before black can do that. Now rook a2 check, hits the king, king f1, d takes c5. Of course, that pawn is being defended. Now here, the pawns are mostly on one side of the board. That does mean this knight on f3 may even be a little bit stronger than the bishop, and therefore white is going to have decent practical chances in this game. All right, knight to e5. The knight jumps up. Of course, the knight can attack any colored square. That is the big advantage of the knight in the endgame over the bishop when pawns are on one side of the board, or mostly on one side, as they are here. Now, that pawn was on, say, a5, that'd be a completely different story. All right, rook a4, knight c4, blocking the pawn, bishop f6, pressuring the rook, e5, pressuring the bishop, bishop e7, king e2, and then f6. Maxime, he is not going to sit around and wait. He is counterattacking in the endgame. We have king d3, f takes e5, knight takes e5, bishop f6, then pinning the knight to the rook on the c3 square. Then rook takes c5, getting out of the pin, bishop takes, and f takes. Now here, white, Levon Aronian, the hero of the game, the hero of the Aronian Cloud opening that I will try myself ASAP in my own online game, games. He's up 1 pawn in the endgame. His new opening, the Aronian Cloud, has paid off, but can he convert it to a victory against the Frenchman? Let's find out. King to f7, rook c7 hits the king, king e6, rook to c6 hits the king again. We have king takes e5, rook takes g6, white being up a pawn, but converting this in the endgame will not be even, as we all know, all rook endgames are drawn. Rook a3 hits the king, king c4, king to e4. Black obviously cannot take this pawn as the rook does defend it on the g3 square for right now. King to e4 played in the game. Rook to g5, pressuring the other pawn, but of course, if white takes that pawn, then this pawn will fall, and black will suddenly have reasonable drawing chances. All right, rook to a8, king b5, king f3, king c6, rook to d8, rook takes h5, king takes g3, rook to d5. What is Levon doing? What he's doing is he knows this position is a draw. There is simply no way to win this game with the king being cut off by 1, 2, 3, 4 files in the endgame like this. He knows his rook endgame theory, and here, Levon Aronian, the hero of our new opening, the Aronian Cloud opening, excuse me, Chess YouTube, he plays the move rook d5, allowing a liquidation into an equal endgame, and this is the final move of the game. It ends in a draw. Levon Aronian getting a significant advantage in his brand new chess opening, the Aronian Cloud opening, but unable to convert it against the Frenchman in the end. Wow, Chess YouTube, what a game here. And of course, what an incredible new opening by Levon Aronian. And I checked, I could not find any of this in the chessbase.com free database where I often check these things. So according to my database, this is the first time this move has ever been played in a chess game. And I gotta say, this might be my favorite new opening I've ever covered on this channel. I've covered quite a few new openings. So anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know down below what you think of Levon Aronian's new chess opening. I was simply blown away. I made a post about this in my free chess community /course/coaching program. The link's in the description below. Anyways, I made a post about it yesterday. I was so blown away by this. I knew I had to do a video today on it. But anyways, really, really fabulous stuff. As always, if you want to work directly with me, learn my complete opening repertoire, I'm building out a course showing you exactly the openings, the middle game strategies I personally use in my online games. So you can just copy me and become a literal top 1% online chess player, just like I am. So I'm building it all out. If you want to work directly with me, get coached by me for free, join my community. The link is down below in the description for the video. Just click on the link, join the group. It's all free. So anyways, as always, I wish you the best of luck in your chess improvement journey in 2025 and beyond, and I'll see you in the next video.